Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we are breaking down our picks for the top five and one worst level 2 Artificer Spells.
We're tinkering. We're building. We're casting spells on hairbrushes and whatnot. Because this is just what I have on me. What?
Yeah, all right.
We're an artificer.
I do not have a hairbrush.
I wonder why.
Um, this might be the easiest list I've ever picked for.
Maybe. I feel like the one that was 4 spells might be slightly easier. We had to have some that they just.
All right. No, because then I don't know. It felt like even then there was like a struggle to pick the worst.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
I had no struggle picking the worst.
There were a couple from my worst that I was like, we don't talk about that one that much. Maybe we should talk about that one. And we'll see. We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
Actually did. There were a couple here where I was like, I could pick this. I could pick that. I think there's like 7 or 8 of these that I would be happy to put on my character sheet for the most part.
All right. Yeah. To be fair, no. All right. You're right. I did. There was some. Yes. It's so unusual that it happens where like, oh, there's so many more that I want to include. It's not like I pick 3 and then the rest of these kind of suck. But no, there's a bunch of decent ones on here.
This kind of feels like a class that got made and they were like, all right, what are the good spells? Let's put those on the spell list just to make sure that we've got our bases covered for like decent utility stuff. It definitely feels like it was made past the point of some of the really atrocious garbage that originally got printed when this game released.
Yeah, there's at least one that I was disappointed I didn't get to put on here, and then one I feel like I should have put on, but not super keen on it. But like, and I tried to keep in mind we are half casters. It's starting to matter now. We're in level 2 spells. When do we get these?
5th level, I think.
I don't know.
Yep, I think it's 5th level. I'm double checking right now. Yeah, 5th level.
Okay. All right. Other caveats, Sam?
They get ritual casting. So you can cast any spell of these that have rituals on them. So if you are like a ride or die proponent of Skywrite or Magic Mouth, you got it. Sure. Those are your 2 options.
I like Magic Mouth.
Yeah, I like Skywrite. Neither are particularly good, but sure, they're free. And when I say free, I mean you just have to prepare them because these are prepared casters. You do get to like cycle these out if you want. Lots of little things going for it.
All right. Other caveats. Sam puts his in order. Best to worst. I don't. Just pick what I like. And I guess the Artificer caveat is at half caster, which we've covered.
Yes. When you're getting these, your wizards are getting Fireball. So, like, it isn't that big of a difference yet because, they've only had 2 levels of 2nd level spells before you get this.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely starts to feel a lot worse at 9th level, and it feels horrendous past that point where you're like, oh, you get 8th level spells, and I'm stuck on this? Okay. Yeah, that's not a great place to be.
But that's not where we are yet.
That's true. Another thing I've noticed is you also get your subclass this level, and those are hugely defining for play pattern. So, like, the extra attack stuff is on 2 of the options, and the artillerist is basically making extra attack with its bonus action cannons and stuff. So, like, you also get spells from those subclasses. That doesn't really inflect which of my choices here that much. I think all these are good on basically every option except Alchemist, because Alchemist is always bad at everything. But, like, decide which of these you'd like. Some of them are slightly better on, armor than the other 3, but it's pretty close in all the grand scheme of things.
All right. I guess I'll kick things off this time. I, of course, chose Web. Just always been a big fan of Web.
Knew you would.
Yeah.
It was close to not making my list, but it is my number 4.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I like it on anything, but for Artificer, it feels like an Artificer kind of thing. Maybe
I don't agree.
Reflavored.
It feels like that. Oh, so we're talking about like they got like a big goo gun?
Well, I mean, that's what Web is. But
Web,
yeah, you don't call it Web, call it Big Goo Gun.
Sure. This has always been an odd duck of a spell to me, just because like there aren't a lot of spells that feel like you plucked them out of 2nd edition. This one really does feel like you plucked it out of 2nd edition. You plucked it out of AD&D, where like the spells were just things that monsters could do, and like it's always been a weird to me for that reason. This feels differently magical for some reason to me than a lot of the other stuff does. That being said, it is a good effect. It's a giant area effect restraint. It will knock several creatures out of a fight for a couple rounds, and that's excellent for a second level spell, even at 5th level. You're happy as an artificer to be like, all right, I'm doing a running gun thing with my artillerist, or I've got my steel defender over here. I'll put those in timeout in the web, and we'll go kill their other allies while they try and break free. It's a pretty good play pattern that you set yourself up for. It's
And
pretty solid.
it's inadvisable, but you can always set it on fire if you want to.
Sure. That's the real text that you love, and you have to bring up every time.
I love all the text.
Okay. Great. My number 5 is heat metal.
I picked heat metal. I'm a fan of that.
I do.
Oh, we
This is
talked about it recently. We did a
That's
full
true.
video on heat metal. Go
And
watch.
you love the horribly macabre
The
method of death.
cruelty of it. Yes.
Yeah.
And just like they can't. They can't escape. I'm talking about someone in metal armor. Yeah, it's going to take a while to escape.
This to me is like iconic artificer magic, right? This is the smith knows what they're doing and goes, oh, I can superheat that armor while they're in it. That's going to be really bad for them. I do this on a regular basis with my tool shop like back home whenever I'm making tinker my own stuff. I'm just going to do it to you while you're in it. It's so very deeply flavorful to me. No save 2d8 fire damage? Yeah, sure, sign me up. Very silver bullety, but you'll definitely have encounters where you'll want to have this prepared, and we'll be feel good using it. It
Yeah, I
doesn't
mean, you're not
scale
always
that
going to be
great,
running
but
against metal armor wearing people, but it also works on weapons. You might come across people with swords
disarm
more
one now
commonly.
and again. 60
Yeah.
foot range is fine. This is starting to hurt as far as like 2d8 damage for a second level spell at 5th level feels a little bit worse than it would if you got it at earlier at 3rd level. Like the damage being later does notably make it worse than the full caster versions of it. It's still pretty fine though at this tier.
Unless I'm using that as a transition here, because I also picked Vortex Warp.
That's my number 3. We're gonna go just have 5 for 5. Is that what's happening today? I
Well,
loved this.
let's see, we might go 4 for 5. I'm not sure about number 5.
I think this deserves my number 2 slot. I think Vortex Warp is really cool.
All right. But here's why I was thinking you heat metal a guy. He's in his armor. He's burning. Vortex, because heat metal is concentration. Vortex warp him into a body of water. He's still burning alive, and now he's drowning too. Because he's got heavy armor on and he can't swim.
I feel like either of these options is a fine solution to killing this individual, right? Like, I don't think you need both, but if you want
you don't
both,
need it. I mean,
sure.
if you're not trying to be excessively cruel, just stab him.
I want that on a t-shirt. You're not trying to be excessively cruel, just stab him. Yeah, I like Vortex Warp for like fun reasons. Not only can you just shunt people away to the base of oceans that are nearby you, but you can also like have the flexibility of teleporting allies or enemies, and the ability that like it's a 90 foot around you is where you pick the target and you teleport them to any other space within range. So it kind of functions like you can relay creatures 180 feet by being like, all right, ding, ding. It's a really neat little long distance teleport shenanigans. I think it's super, super sweet. It being an action at this range, I think puts it close to where I rate Misty Step, and that spell is really useful. Any kind of teleportation is great for infiltration. It's great for repositioning in combat to give yourself an advantageous, safe position. It is good on a myriad of characters in a myriad of situations. Is it always worth the cost? Yeah, oftentimes it's going to feel akin to moving, but in a lot of infiltration and a lot of espionage and a lot of different kinds of exploration encounters, it's A-tier, top-tier stuff. And in combat, it does have its uses. So, like, I'm a fan.
All right. I take a bit of issue with you say the tone with which you said, I like it for fun reasons. Like, my example use was not optimized play. The only reason anyone's doing that is for fun.
Listen, the kids on the playground that torture ants also think that's really fun. So, like, if that's your brand of fun, go for it.
You can't say they're not having fun.
That's true. Sid in Toy Story sure does have a lot of fun.
Yeah, and look when he grows up. He's having a blast as a garbage man.
Yeah, it's true. Jamming out. It's deep cuts. Love that.
All right. Yes, but for all those other reasons as well, I like it. The only reason I opened with what I did was it transitioned well. It was a segue
Mm.
from heat metal.
I feel like you would make a great D&D like mobster kind of character, right? Where like you're the guy they pull out whenever they need to get information out of somebody that just won't talk, and you're like, I got heat metal, I got vortex warp, I'm ready. We doing cement shoes today? We doing liquid metal today? Or we doing both? What's y'all's looking for?
That's
That's
and like and it's gonna be weird because like what does the DM do? Does he roll intimidation checks? So like, well, he's boiling and drowning, but he still won't talk.
Yep. Classic mobster stuff. So yeah, Vortex was my number 2. My number 3, moving on forward, I love this spell. I wish it were more than just a Wizard Artificer spell. I love Rope Trick. Rope Trick is sweet. And it's hard to talk about it as Wizard because Wizards have like a busted list of spells. So like it doesn't always get to shine brightly. But on a lower tier list, on a list of spells that are objectively worse, because it's mainly just smaller, Rope Trick can shine really brightly here. I think Rope Trick is great.
Rope Trick was the one I said I should have put on my list, but I don't really like it very much. I and I feel like it's if the dungeon master has their carefully laid out dungeon and we quit for a little while, we're gonna go take a nap and heal up, that could screw up the balance.
I, I so I will say this. I don't have Rope Trick on here as a short rest gimmick. I think it can do that in a pinch. And when that normally happens, I tend to see it as a players recognize that we really need the Warlock to function right now. We really need the short rest classes that kind of don't get a fair shake to have their resources back. And for that, I think it can be a fine balancing lever, actually, as opposed to like making things too easy. It sort of lets some characters continue to do their thing, which I tend to value as a DM. Like I want my players to do their thing. Where I like Rope Trick more is as its disappearing act, right? This is the kind of thing where you close a door, you hold it for 6 seconds, and everyone gets in the Rope Trick, and then you're gone. And that's really cool. That's really a fun little ability to have in your back pocket for all kinds of events. This is the kind of spell, right, where you say you're going into the bathroom as the restaurant's closing or whatever, right? And you go on the Rope Trick whenever they're closing up, and you come back out and steal all their shit and leave at the end of the day, right? Like it's
All
a
right,
neat,
yeah.
it's a pocket dimension for a second level spell, and that has a ton of really interesting use cases that we'll just be playing with this and be like, there'll be role play moments where you'll go, I do not want to see this character right now. In the Rope Trick we go.
All right, I'll give you that. That's yeah, you've sold me on it a bit. Have we done a Rope Trick video?
I don't remember. We've done a lot of videos.
Yeah, we have. All right. If we haven't and we cover it later, I'll try to remember this. Happier
Sweet.
side of Rope Trick.
An invisible entrance opens to an extra-dimensional space that lasts until the spell ends. Delicious words. It doesn't even require concentration.
Yeah,
It's just there for an hour.
It just reeks of abuse potential for me.
Yeah.
And I feel like I felt like that's all it was for, but now I've seen some light.
I think Tiny Hut is more of the abuse situation, but that's really easy to counteract. You just pile a bunch of traps on top of them and say, good luck getting out of there, team.
I mean, even with Rope Trick, if you're using it for that and monsters see you or enemies see you, and they can just hang out and wait it out, they get a short rest as well.
Yeah. And they can like move around and stuff.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I guess I know. Yeah. Well, no, I'll do this one. All right. I'll save your number one for later.
Thanks.
Okay. I had a hard time choosing between Levitate and Spider Climb. Thematically, I like Spider Climb better, and but I just feel like Levitate has more utility because it can do a lot of the things Spider Climb can. So yeah,
And more.
It hurt. I went with Levitate.
I think we might be in a day and age where Spider Climb could be a first level spell. I think that's kind of the tier it fits better. I love it too. I think it looks way cooler, but I think I agree that Levitate is a better spell. These two I was really debating to shift Heat Metal off here and put one of these two on. It was
Oh, neither
Levitate.
yeah.
Yeah, neither of these are my number one.
Oh, yeah, you've only got
I
the one left. Yeah, we
I
know
do
what it
genuinely like
is.
both these on Artificer, though. They're both little cute supportive options. And Levitate, like you said, it does a little bit more. You can use it on enemies and allies. I like it as the Artificer is building the giant mech that uses it to sort of like fiddle around at different parts of it and like floats around fixing their devices or their armor sets or their golems or whatever. I think there's a lot of cute, flavorful stuff to be happening with Levitate. And it's also just, handy whenever you're like an artillerist, you just levitate up into the air and you just rain hellfire above with your force cannons and your fireballs and all the other barrages of things you get. It looks pretty sweet. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah. Spider Climb does have an hour-long duration,
Yeah.
so it's got that going for it. But yeah, that's not going to come into play a
It's just
huge
how
amount.
often do you need it for an hour versus what
Yeah,
levitate gives you for 10
10
minutes,
minutes.
right?
Yeah,
Like, levitate being able to hit other creatures is really meaningful. When I say other creatures, I mean enemies,
yes,
right? Being able to just like, I'm
or
going
or
to
allies.
Yeah. Well, I think just the mode where I'm going to take that goblin and stick them up in the air and they're just going
Yeah.
to sit there until this fight's over. That's really good. If it ever happens to like an ogre or something in the low tiers, it can be a saber die in a pinch. And that's
Mhm.
useful to have. It means your utility spell also doubles as a saber die. That's great.
Poor man's banishment. Yeah.
Yeah. If I were to do this list, I would have convinced myself. I think this would go above heat metal. I think it's going to be more regularly castable than heat metal is. It's still excellent little spell though. Both are fine, but I think I prefer levitate. You convinced me,
I
Bob.
I that wasn't my goal. I was hoping you'd swing me towards Spider Climb, but no, I
That's why Climb's
recognize
definitely worse.
Levitate is more powerful. I still like Spider Climb better.
Yeah, me too.
Uh, yeah, just crawling around. All right.
Ready for the number one that no
Yeah.
one's going to be surprised by? It's
Yes.
invisibility. Yeah,
Yes, it
it's
is. Of
busted. Who
course.
could have seen this coming? Invisibility is the best second level spell in the game by a country mile. This is too cheap of a spell. This effect should be more expensive than it is, so other spells could get more breathing room. That's my hot take that no one agrees with. But like this spell is so utterly busted. It invalidates so much of how a narrative like engages with the world, and it's so readily available to just a myriad of classes. At fifth level in Artificer, I actually think it's like, oh, this is kind of a new, cool, powerful thing while the third level spells are happening. It's almost like if it happened to this tier, it'd be a lot more fair and fun. But like, yeah, it's gonna be gross. It's always good on every character that takes it, generally. You will never run into encounters where you will find, oh, invisibility won't do anything here. Invisibility will always do something as a means of engaging some kind of, whether it be combat interface, escape, infiltration, just stealth, whatever you need, this does. It opens up windows that are otherwise closed to you. It's ridiculously good.
Yeah, I mean, I got nothing really to add to that. That when everybody watching this has fantasized about being invisible, you have already gone through all the ways you would use it, and that's in real life.
Yeah,
Game, yeah, that's more limited. Invisibility for the win, of course, no
obviously.
question.
Definitely the best Artificer second level spell. Again, I think this probably deserves the title of best second level spell in the game.
Very well might. Um, all right. Well, you want to go over your list again?
Sure. Number one, invisibility. Number two, vortex warp, which is a spell I did not know I should have talked about more with other classes that we talked about. We should talk about vortex warp more. This spell's sweet. Number three, rope trick. Number four, web, and number five, heat metal.
All right. Mine were very similar. Web, invisibility, heat metal, vortex warp, and levitate. We were 4 for 5 that time, huh?
Yeah.
Which which was the one you had instead of levitate? You had oh, you had rope trick. Right. Okay. All right. Now the fun part. Um, all right, you mentioned liking this. I'll go first. My pick was Skywrite.
I love Skywrite. It's just
I
kind of
don't. I
pointless.
just think it's stupid.
I have a particular vision in mind where like let's go with Shannon. Shannon spites you, and she like scams you, cuts you off for something. She like is just rude to you generally while ever you're at a tavern. So she wakes up in the morning and she just see it written in the sky in Skywrite.
Shannon is a whore.
Shannon is the absolute worst human
No.
being, right? Like probably more profane than that, but it's just a giant message that the whole town gets to see that it's just normally being mean. And I love that. I love petty bards. I love petty warlocks. I love petty artificers. And Skywrite goes in there. She does a ritual spell. Like I can envision a drunk artificer going outside and getting out their book and doing the little ritual and writing, just making a giant penis in the sky, right? Just like a giant Skywrite dick. I can see that happening in like a regular D&D table all the time. It's not good, but that's what it's for, and I can't not love it for that. Like, you're right, it's terrible. Like, it doesn't
For a
do
good
anything.
time, for a good time, Shannon's phone number.
Exactly. That's the kind of thing that you do with Skywrite, is you be a jerk. That's that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I see it used almost exclusively for advertising purposes.
Yeah, the D&D world, just this is the Goodyear blimp of D&D, Skywrite.
No, but it's everywhere. The sky is full.
You just have the ritual casting wizard that's like, oh yeah, I'm the Skywrite guy. You want your message in the sky? 3 gold pieces. Here's the different lots of the different portions of the sky
Yeah.
that'll have your ads. God, this
Oh,
could be a great dystopian adventure. It's just a built around like really getting in the nitty gritty of what capitalism plus the D&D spell lists would look like. That'd be great. That'd be a fun time. What a little project that could be.
oh, yeah. This all makes me not like Skywrite even more.
I love Skywrite. It's bad though. You're right. It's terrible. It's not the worst, I don't think. I think Kinetic Jaunt is actually close to uncastable. I've really come down on the spell a lot since I first read it.
Kinetic
So
John.
yeah, exactly. It's
I looked at
constant.
that. I don't even remember what it does though.
So it's bonus action for +10 speed. You don't provoke opportunity attacks, and you can move through other
Oh,
creature
yeah,
spaces though it's
yeah, yeah.
difficult terrain. This is just worse in every way, shape, and form than the vast majority of good disengaged tools out there. Is it the worst on this list? Probably not. But we don't talk about it enough because we talk about Skywrite and pyrotechnics and the Q cosmetic things that are atrocious. This is also atrocious. This is not worth the slot that you're using for it. You're not going to be disengaging enough with it where it's going to be better than a myriad of other, like Vortex Warp gets you out of that situation with a 90-foot teleport. This is I get out of jail free once-ish for a bonus action second level slot. No, you don't want to be there. You're
But
not using this to die backlines or anything like that. You're just
why
sad that you
not?
cast it. Because you having to set it up and spend a second level spell slot on concentration effect that only gets you to a location is the same or worse than teleporting. And there
Yeah.
are teleportation spells that will readily get you to where you want to be and do a myriad of other things too. This only is usable in those two situations where you're disengaging or you're trying to get to a specific spot in the backline. You have to be able to move there. You have to be able to get through the different spaces of the different creatures. It is not worth casting.
Ah, I feel like there's some niche builds that could use it. What if you were which which totem were we just talking about where you can move through no where you can shove somebody and make
Elk
him prone? Elk. Yeah. Elk totem, shove one guy, then go to the guy
14
you want to kill.
barbarian, 5 artificer.
Is this a self spell? Can somebody else not cast it on you or
Sure is.
no? All right. That's probably not worth it.
No.
That's
You could
the first
it,
thing that came to mind.
So, like, if you're a battlesmith, you can't take your companion with you, which is a bummer. Although you might be able to cast on your companion as well. I don't remember. If you're an armor, you just normally are trying to take hits, and you get into the back line. There's tons of other ways you can do it. Like
Hmm.
artillerists don't want this. Alchemists obviously don't want this. Alchemists don't want any spells at all because that's an option that you should never take. So like I don't realistically see this going on any character sheet and a person being happy with the outcome.
Yeah.
Expedition Retreat is not a spell we're raving about. Longstrider is the spell we're raving about. This is those two things at a higher level slot with the upside of not provoking opportunity attacks. It's just not worth it.
Probably not. But it does something though. Skywrite. Yeah,
I
I feel good about my pick.
Bob, I'd like you to answer this question honestly. Are you more likely to play at a table that will get enjoyment out of casting Skywrite or enjoyment out of casting Kinetic Jaunt?
Kinetic John, because I think Skywrite.
Really?
Yes, because I think Skywrite would just be annoying, and I'd be waiting for the session to end. That's
I just I can think of
it's
tons of players that would have a ball with Skywrite.
yeah, I could too, and that'd be annoying.
I've literally played a game with you where you stuck a dick at a table, and you're telling me Skywrite's gonna be annoying?
All right. Well, I mean, uh, yes. I don't know why. You're probably right.
Okay, all right, that's fine. We're allowed to have different opinions on this, but yeah, I think Kinetic Jaunt is pretty
You
terrible.
already brought up drawing a dick in the sky, and
That's your calling card.
but in the game it was my dick though, wasn't it? I didn't just draw a dick on something. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
I
public
will say
probably
this.
doesn't need to know this.
I
Unless we
think
release the game, then spoiler alert. Oops.
yeah, this is true. I think Lesser Restoration might be actually worse than Kinetic John, but we've talked about Lesser Restoration to death, and I do think Kinetic John is worth mentioning as a really terrible spell, so it gets my worst.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, no arguments here. Yours is bad, mine's bad.
I
All
think
right.
yours also might like objectively be worse if we're talking about power, but
All right, that's what I was trying to say.
sure. From a numeric perspective.
If we want to have the most fun, it's Vortex Warp and Heat Metal.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Those were our picks. What about you, dear viewer? What do you think of our lists? And let us know your list down in the comments. That was level 2 Artificer Spells. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.